I've done some red carpet, and that's a little you're trying to get the celebrities to come over to you, and it's kinda, you have to yell out
It's
a little
hard.
bit, and it's hard. It's a little degrading. I don't know, it's kinda hard. And I don't know if I'm the best at it, and we were doing the Critics' Choice Awards, and of course, Clint Eastwood is coming down.
It's said that if you stop being curious, you stop growing. I'm David Wiley. This is Dave Wants to Know. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome. Today, we are joined by a familiar face who has spent over 2 decades bringing the best of travel, technology, human interest stories right into our living rooms. As the host of First California Life and Coast to Coast, she has mastered the art of the lifestyle deep dive, showing us the people and places that make our world vibrant. Please join me in welcoming the award-winning host and storyteller, Heather Dawson. Hi, Heather.
David, so good to see
So
you.
it's so good to see you. Heather and I work together on occasion now on Coast to Coast, and I enjoy that very much. Tell me how that show came about.
Well, honestly, David, I think back, I can't believe it's been that long. You and I go way back.
Hmm.
And I've always just enjoyed having you on the show. I always say you're the golden voice that comes on the show. And I know it's always going to be great when you're doing one of the segments.
Appreciate
But
that.
I actually started the show because I'm from Texas originally. And, in Texas, everyone's very prideful of being Texan, and every house has a star and a flag. And when I moved to California, I thought, well, gosh, California is a pretty cool state. We lead in technology, we lead in entertainment, we lead in agriculture, but we don't have that everywhere. You don't see the California flag everywhere. And they had a Texas Monthly magazine that was almost like a Bible out in Texas. Everybody gets it, and it's just the best of Texas. So I thought, we really should promote California and why California is so great. And that's how we started originally Southern California Life. And it was only on a local LA station, and
Right.
then branched that out to Southern California. And then I realized, gosh, we should do this all over California. So it was regional with California Life. And then in 2017, we syndicated. And because we were doing stuff out of California, we changed the name to Coast to Coast. So, but it does skew more toward California. And really is that's what it is, kind of the best of travel, best of lifestyle, things within the state.
It's a very cool show, and in a world filled with controversy and negativity, it's a place to come and see. There are cool places to visit and cool people to know.
I agree. And honestly, I think I come from a hard news background like you. I did more of a hard news, and it it did get a little depressing right around 9/11. And I always quote there's Dennis Miller when he was on Saturday Night Live, and he was saying that news is stuff, he said a different word, stuff that you're glad didn't happen to you today.
Uh,
And I remember thinking that, I'm like, gosh, that's kind of true, right? You're talking about the worst things, with like
yeah.
local news. And so when we started the show, I definitely just didn't, it also makes it easy. We don't do anything political. We don't do it, we just stay away from anything controversial. And we do pretty much highlight positivity, things that we feel that is, the old water cooler discussions, and whether it be travel or anything that, people are talking about or trending, right now. So
So there's a variety, and I know you do a lot of travel segments and things like that. It's a wonderful show.
thank you. And you are such a wonderful asset to the show. And I love just having, and I do think that is the backbone of the show is we have great talent. We have award-winning contributors on our show, and they all have other lives. They all work on other stations or radio or podcast. And then they're able to go do this show on the side. And I think it gives them an ability to be more creative. They don't have the stress of heavy deadlines. And I think we get a better product because of it.
It is amazing how you've collected a really great team around you, and like you said, they all have regular gigs, but they all kind of do things for you. And I've got a chance, obviously, to work with many of them, and yeah, I'm very impressed.
It's nice to be able to, pick who you work with. That's not always the case. I've been able to I think about it every time we tape in LA. We tape, our studios near Santa Monica, and I go in there and I just love everybody at the studio and I've known them forever. It's just a nice feeling when you work with good people. It's really what it comes down to.
Now, you mentioned you grew up in Texas, but the first time I met you, and I don't know why this sticks with me, but I remember that you were working at one local broadcast outfit and I was working at another, and we both were covering, I think it was a gas leak, a natural gas leak at an elementary school. And
Was wondering, I'm so glad you remember that because I feel like I've known you forever.
yes,
Obviously, listened to you on the radio. I thought, oh, he has a great voice, and you were very respected in town. I knew your name and who you were, but I couldn't pinpoint when we actually met, like
yeah,
where we were. So
I'm pretty sure that that was it. And that was probably, you know, mid 1990s, maybe
yes, yeah,
early
like
90s.
95, yes, and
So
that
I
was
knew,
my.
oh,
Oh,
go
go
ahead.
ahead. I was going to say that was my first job out of college.
So yeah, you came out here. That's the reason you came to California, was to take that job.
No, I went to San Diego State.
Oh,
So I went to college at San Diego State, and then like everybody back in the day would send my tapes all over trying to get a job, and lots of rejections. That the old term was you're a little too green. That I didn't really understand what that
yeah.
meant. And then I think I got one job offer in like Meridian, Mississippi, and this guy said, I got the best slogan ever, Heather with the weather. He kept saying, Heather with the weather. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to do weather. I don't know if I want to move to Mississippi. So I
Right.
was actually very thankful to get a job in Southern California, and we got to, obviously, those smaller jobs, you do everything. So I was the
Oh,
one woman band, you shoot it, you write
hmm.
it, you edit, then you go home and you anchor it. So it's the
So
best experience.
yeah, and so I think that's when we first got to know each other. Eventually, I think I was kind of your fill-in sports guy at one point, and then you left,
Yes, well,
and
I
you.
instantly recruited you. I remember thinking, "Oh, he's awesome. Yeah, put him on." So, better
So
than me
and
doing
then
sports.
so people, and then you went to what, Palm Springs?
I went to Palm Springs, went to, KMIR, the NBC affiliate, and that was
Which
nice
is a
because
great
then
that's a great market that people just don't know of broadcast people.
they really don't, and what's so interesting about Palm Springs, probably because of the Rat Pack and the Hollywood glam, I was in Japan, and people know Palm Springs. So, you and I look at it as like a smaller news market, but the whole world pretty much has heard of Palm Springs just from things in the media and events, and a lot of people in Palm Springs were lucky and were able to go from there to LA, just because 'cause you're close proximity. So, it is a good market for television.
Television and just media in general has changed so much since when we first came up.
Yes.
How are you coping with that change, and what changes have you seen in your side of, the lifestyle show type of thing?
Well, I have seen I really a full circle, right? When we first started, we were doing 3/4 inch tapes and huge cameras and deck to deck editing. I'm trying to tell this to my interns and they're like, huh? And I'm like, yeah, you do. But whatever mistake you made, you had to stop there and redo the whole thing, from that
Hmm.
time. And I really couldn't do the show the way I am doing the show if we hadn't been able to progress, all of the communication and the streaming and when I first started syndicating the show, I was FedExing tapes, to the TV stations. And now it's an email, with a Dropbox link. And, just the way we've been able to streamline and all the people that contribute to the show, they're all over the world, really. And they can just digitally send it in. And even covering an event, I just covered the PGA American Express Golf Tournament with my iPhone, with my new, I-17 Pro
Hmm.
iPhone, and the quality is amazing. I'm even kind of surprised sometimes, like how much just that part on the technical part has really been. And I still have those tapes. I don't even know what to do with them. I have big, piles of old tapes. Maybe they'll be vintage someday and worth something. I don't know. Mm.
Yeah, sell them on eBay. Or
Yeah.
how do you keep the show fresh? You've been doing it for a long time. How do you, yeah, how do you keep it fresh
I
and
I really honestly, we get so many wonderful press releases sent to us from all of the PR companies, and they're very savvy. They know about, I start getting stuff for Valentine's Day in, 3 months ahead, and they start pitching us. So we get pitched a lot. And that helps, with what we want to cover. And it's usually lifestyle related. And then honestly, it's what, we've already been covering and things that we're into. Sometimes I'm even surprised of what will trend well because now we have the whole social media aspect. So it used to be just what airs on TV, but now we take it and we put it out on TikTok and Instagram Reels and Facebook. It's very interesting to me what things that go viral, that maybe I didn't think would, and then they do. So, I mean, I like that aspect of the show.
Can you tell us a couple of maybe favorite interviews or favorite moments that you've had either in your news career or with Coast to Coast?
Well, I think my favorite interview is, and I think you'll relate, but we do some red carpet, and usually I send an entertainment reporter, but I've done some red carpet, and that's a little you're trying to get the celebrities to come over to you, and it's kind of you have to yell out
It's
a little
hard.
bit, and it's hard. It's a little degrading. I don't know. It's kind of hard. And I don't know if I'm the best at it. And we were doing the Critics' Choice Awards, and of course, Clint Eastwood is coming down. And I had just read the Barbara Walters book, and she talks in her book about how her biggest regret was that he asked her out on a date and she didn't get to go out with him on the date or turned him down and had to leave for some assignment with some world leader.
What?
And so I was kind of excited to tell him or remark about, oh, how do you feel about Barbara Walters saying her biggest regret is not going on a date with you? Just something other than the movie and the regular stuff.
Hmm.
So he was walking over toward me and I'm all ready. I'm all excited to ask my question. And that's about the time they started letting more influencers and different media on the red carpet. And there was somebody very young. And I'm not kidding. She elbowed me like to where it hurt,
No.
elbowed me out of the way and pushed me like straight out of a movies. And I thought, oh, shoot, I'm not going to be able to. And he said in a very Clint Eastwood voice, he looked over at her and he said, you need to get some manners. And it
Ooh.
was so classic, and then I got to ask my question, and I don't know, it was just very memorable because, he says it in this kind of dirty, hairy, like, "You need to get some manners," and I just thought, "Oh my gosh," that's, like, very I don't know, when you do those events and they kind of all run together, and then you have some moments that just stay with you. It's fun.
And I know you also do a lot of travel segments. Would you say there's a hidden gem that of the places that you've gone?
Yeah, so I think for travel, for all of I mean, there are always beautiful spots and places that you've probably heard of, but there's, obviously Telluride, I think is beautiful. Not a lot of people have gone there. A lot of the history and different things on destinations that we've done. But what I love is we do with those spotlights. And I started it when we were doing, Southern California Life and California Life. And we would even just spotlight cities that, of course, you hear Beverly Hills and you hear the one Malibu, but we were doing some that there was one in Fresno about these secret caves that Al Capone would go through, and something in Rancho Cucamonga about the Grateful Dead having a winery or calling a wine there. And I like it when we find interesting things in small cities that maybe you don't hear about. That's
Those
always my
little
favorite.
nuggets.
Nuggets, yeah, that you can talk about, or people, I didn't know that, or even in my own city, I didn't know that.
You
Those are
mentioned you
fun.
have interns, and you work with interns, and I was an intern back in the day, but the media world, as we talked about, has changed so much. What would be your advice to someone who wants to get involved in media now? I mean, there are influencers, there are still news people, although that is breaking down a little bit. Do you have advice for prospective journalists slash influencer, TV show host, I don't type of people?
Definitely. My biggest advice is you got to roll up your sleeves and do all of it. You got to wear every hat. You got to learn to edit. You got to learn to do whatever it's cut on your phone, edit on your desktop, do the interviews, do the, be your one woman band, your one man band. Because as you know, everyone that has made it in our industry and our age or had any longevity, those are the kind of people. Back in the olden days, you could just go in and read the news or, be at the desk. And it was the people that learn to produce, learn to edit, learn to do everything. And even if that's not your expertise, because that just comes in handy so much later. And they are learning them really young. Even in like fifth grade elementary schools, they have little TV, channels and they learn to do some basic editing. So that's my advice. No matter what your talent is, podcast or influencer or, news, just learning all of kind of the background of that
I know for
helps.
me, is the technology change has been so dramatic, and for me, it's difficult to keep up with it. And younger people are growing up with it, and it's like, it's just seems very easy for them. How do you stay on top of technology in your industry, in the broadcast industry?
I actually learned from my interns because they live and
Mm,
breathe this. So my social
interesting.
media, 100%, I give to my girls. I have 3 daughters and I mean, they could whip something up faster than I've ever seen. And then they know how to use AI. They know how to make a interesting caption and put it in. And I really do learn from them because it's a different language that it's so easy for them, and but what I worry about, and I'm sure you touch on this too, is you can get information out, you can produce stuff, but the fact checking it's difficult because it's hard to really even know, even to teach them how to fact check and what's accurate and what's not and what's sponsored or swayed one way or the other.
Interesting. So you're, again, even on the technology side, surrounding yourself with people who know things that maybe you don't know,
Yes.
and delegating, or what what does Heather like to do when she's not in front of a camera? What's the difference between the on camera Heather Dawson and the off camera Heather?
Well, I really truly just love my girls. I have 3 girls. I'm so into them and they're 23, 21, 18. So we have a lot of drama in the house, a lot going on in a good way. And as you're a parent. So
Yep.
I know that time is precious. And even as they grow older, I truly love spending time with them and vacationing with them. We in our house, we call it's never a vacation, it's a workcation. Everything is a workcation. So everyone has to go to work. So if we go skiing or if we go something, I'm usually doing it through the show and they are having to do a TikTok or they're having to post or help me with video. But I love it because we experience things together. And that's been really, I love that. Like if I can do anything on my time off. And I just recently, because I moved to Golf Mecca, I got left-handed golf clubs, went golf for the first time, and I'm kind of excited about it. I liked it more than I thought I would. And I'm like, you know what? You can play golf until you're, 90 if you're lucky.
So you're,
We'll
yeah, you're
see.
back in the Palm Springs area, which is,
Yes.
like you said, the golf mecca.
It is. I'm in La Quinta and I have a cousin that works for TaylorMade and he's like, wow, you have like 150 golf courses around your house. And I thought, oh, I guess I do. But I like it because it's just a beautiful, it's a beautiful walk and it's out in fresh air. And so that's been kind of fun. But truly, it's just working. It's being with my girls. That's really the bottom line, what I love to do.
Do you have an embarrassing moment
Ooh,
from
from work?
from
Yes, I have a
work?
great
Yes.
one.
Okay.
So you probably remember this when we used to do when we were a news anchor and we would turn our chair and we would so it'd be into Washington DC and it was during the whole Clinton Monica Lewinsky, scandal.
Yeah.
And whenever we would toss to a DC, reporter on scene, there was always a little bit of a delay when they would toss to them. So they'd be, holding them, then they start talking. And I was a news anchor and we would do this thing where we would turn and toss. So I was turning to Campbell Brown, who was doing the live shot from DC, and I was talking something about Clinton not having sexual relations with Monica Lewinsky.
That
But
famous
when I
quote.
went
Yeah.
the famous quote, but when I went to turn, instead of saying Monica Lewinsky, I said sexual relations with Campbell Brown. I said the reporter's name that he basically was like had sexual. And I minute that I said it, I knew it, but I'm like, maybe she won't notice. And she kind of had that like delayed and she went, But of course, she's so professional. She handled it really well, and I'm like, "I'm gonna get fired. I'm gonna get fired. Like, when this is over," how they at the end of the newscast, the news director, everybody comes in and tells you whether you did well or they yells at you, and I don't know, David, I think everyone just wasn't paying attention. No one noticed. Like, not one
Wow.
person noticed. I was asking my coworker, and he's like, "Yeah, I heard it, but no one said anything." And they just let it slip, but oh my gosh, I was dying. So, yeah, basically accused her of having sexual relations with the president. So,
Oh, so you travel a lot, probably on an airplane fairly often. Do you have 3 essentials you have to take on the plane with you in your carry-on?
I am, yes, let me think about that. So my phone has to be charged. I
Of
have to have a
course.
charger. I'm very productive on a plane, kind of boring. I don't really, I actually do work on a plane, like on my phone or clean things up. A book in case there isn't a Wi-Fi and I can't do anything because I don't really like do headphones on the plane, which is weird. And a coat or a jacket because they're freezing. Planes are so cold. And remember the old days where they gave you a blanket?
Yes,
So
that
I'm
doesn't
always
happen
cold.
in
So those would be my three.
dream interview. If you could, sit down and have an interview with anyone, let's say from history even, is there 1 or 2 people that you just top your list, whether living or dead, that you would go, "That's somebody I wanna have on the show"?
Well, this is very random, but probably Jesus.
Oh,
I know
good
that's
one.
a weird one, but I think that'd be kind of cool if living or dead. Living though, Dolly Parton. I would love to interview
Dolly
Dolly Parton.
Parton.
I never have. I saw her in concert, but I think she'd be a kick, and I really admire self-made and has done so well for herself. That would be a great interview.
So when people look back at your work, not that you're going anywhere, how do you wanna be remembered, as a as far as your work is concerned?
I hope that bringing positivity and um, showcasing things that maybe people didn't know about, aggregating a lot of different talents. I love that. I love that I let people hopefully shine in their way and then I just put it all together. I always say I'm a glorified coordinator. And I hope that people, as a producer, somebody that produced content out there that I think has some longevity. We still air stuff that's old. We'll repurpose it and air it. And it's always fun to look back.
I asked earlier, what's the difference between you on camera and off camera? And having known you for so many years, there really isn't a big difference. You're a sweetheart on camera and a sweetheart off. And I've dealt with a lot of people in the broadcast business, and behind the scenes, not everybody's real nice.
Oh,
Sometimes there's a persona on air and an off air, and I'll just say that I found that you're one of the few that's just genuine, both in front of the camera and off camera.
well, thank you, David. That's a compliment coming from you.
Do
And
you,
I think I do think you can see that, when you're what I'm sure you feel that way too. When I watch people on camera, you almost get a sense, even when they're in their broadcast mode or acting mode. Sometimes I feel like you get a sense of their personality.
you mentioned your 3 daughters, they help you out. Are any of them interested in the media, or are they kind of looking in their own uh, areas of interest?
Sadly, yes, all 3. I was hoping, engineer, finance, doctor, they're all interested in what we do, and they even had a podcast for a while. They were doing the Angel Babies podcast, but,
Yeah, yeah, I remember
one
that.
wants I have a daughter that wants to be a singer and a daughter that's a writer and does acting, and my youngest, she wants to be an entrepreneur, maybe makeup and create that. So they're all kind of in the art world.
Yeah, actually, one of your daughters was on what, The Voice?
Yes. So my middle daughter, Ava, she was on The Voice season 22, and she's graduating Claremont McKenna this spring. And really, that's what she's going for it. She wants to be a singer and go that route. So, but they all work for me, and I've been putting them to work for a long time. So they do know the industry and the back end of the industry too, even the sales part and the sponsorship part. And who knows? Maybe I always said, I go, maybe they'll take over my production company someday and actually turn it into something huge. I don't know. That'd be great.
That is great. For people who are feeling stuck or maybe have a dream, but they're not sure whether they want to take that next step or they're afraid, do you have any advice for people that, because essentially you went from being a paid on air newscaster to creating your own show, and that had to take a lot of courage to take that step. If people are watching and going, I always dreamed of doing something, but I'm afraid, what would you say to them?
I think that it's actually there's just as much, risk sometimes and working for someone else. Because you could work for someone else and they come in and they clean house or they lay everybody off. I mean, I remember working in Palm Springs and they got bought by Journal Broadcasting out of Wisconsin. They literally came in and just let half the station go. And it was just brutal, like a sign on the door. One thing about being your own boss or creating your own thing is it's all up to you, but you can work all the time and work hard. And it's not, that's the American dream, I guess. And you can do it. Like it's especially now with technology and the way these influencers are doing it and going out and getting their own sponsorship. And I think you almost are better off if you can get your own destiny and always work it, even if you could do that and have like another job on the side. Maybe you take a job with benefits and insurance that just gets you some stability, but you can spend some time doing what you really love and promoting it. I think that would be ideal.
And honestly, that's what this podcast is for me. I mean, I was in the broadcast business for a long time and I still do some segments with you, but for the most part, I'm out of broadcasting. And I got thinking, is there a way I can kind of dip my toe back into it? So that's kind of where I'm at now. Oh,
Well, I think it's a great
hey,
place for you, David. I'm excited.
well, I appreciate it. We're going to see where it goes, and I hope things go well. People want to see your show, and I want people to watch Coast to Coast if they haven't seen it. Where can they find it? Do you have a website that tells them what stations and times, or how do
Yeah.
they find your show?
Definitely go to the website. It's coasttocoast.tv and we're at coasttocoast.tv. So Instagram, all the socials, but on the website, there's a where to watch and it just tells you all the TV stations that we're on and the social media handles. And they can even watch your segments too, David. So we love having you
Absolutely.
on the show. Congratulations on this. I think that I can see this going far for you. This is awesome.
Well, I appreciate the good thoughts, and I appreciate you being on the show and giving us some of your time. It's been really interesting. I learned some things I didn't know about you. Some I did, some I didn't. But it's always great having a conversation with you, and thanks for being with us.
Of course, anytime.
You've been listening to Dave Wants to Know with David Wiley. A special thanks to Heather Dawson, producer and host of Coast to Coast. Check out their show at coasttocoast.tv. We appreciate you tuning in to Dave Wants to Know. Please subscribe, share, and comment. We'll see you next time.